Alright, I'm back, and hopefully this time got the glare on the glasses a little under control from the monitors, and the lighting may not be perfect, but the glare on the glasses was bad. Hopefully that'll be better this time. The topic that I wanted to talk about tonight was actually not a response to any other videos, but something that I've talked about with some of my friends before and haven't seen anything out there about it, although I'm sure somebody else has thought of it. But has to do with Microsoft and Apple, an interesting combination. And when I tell some of my friends that I got the Mac Pro back in January, some of them are a little surprised and make comments about, being a Windows user or Windows this or Microsoft just lost out. And I've been thinking a lot about the booming Mac sales and what it really means for Microsoft. And I actually think that the Mac sales, even if they are eating into the Windows sales, are actually not really hurting Microsoft all that much. And I have two reasons for that. First, on the Windows side, is that some of the Mac users, myself included, end up buying a copy of Windows and installing Windows on our Mac. I have Vista Business on my Mac because there's some applications, mostly just one actually, but an application that I absolutely need, and it's not available for the Mac. It's available only on Windows, and so I have to use it. And so that's no different than if I had bought a Dell for doing my work. In fact, and this is part of that same point, you see all these really cheap computers out there, preloaded with Windows Vista, obviously, for $400, $300, maybe even less. And you really have to ask yourself, how much money is Microsoft really getting from each of those computer sales? If Dell is selling that Inspiron desktop for $300 and they've got all the components in it, now granted it's not going to be an Intel quad-core computer, but it's still got all the same components: a motherboard, processor, power supply, hard drive, DVD, etc., etc. Microsoft's cut for Vista is not very much. Now, when I went out and bought the full version of Vista Business, as is required for running it on the Mac, they got a lot of money from that because that's a software sale, and software is pretty much profit because once it's developed, every sale is just money in. So Microsoft is conceivably making a decent amount on these Mac users who put Windows on their Mac. Now, obviously, that's not everybody, but it certainly is not insignificant either. And the second reason is, and this is no big secret, Microsoft's cash cow is not Windows. Microsoft's cash cow is Office. And I think that that's for several reasons, mostly being that when they sell Office, they're not selling it for some bargain price on a bargain computer. Even if you buy Office through Dell or Sony or HP, the cheapest version, assuming it's not on sale, is going to be the home version for $150. And a majority of that is going to end up in Microsoft's pocket. And the same thing is true on the Mac. Now, part of what I do is work on computers in people's homes, doing repairs and upgrades, training, and setting up new computers. And I think in almost all of the cases where I have recommended and installed a Mac, that customer has ended up with, guess what, Microsoft Office on their computer. So in that regard, they may not have Windows on their computer, but they still have Microsoft Office. And we're buying those retail, obviously, and that's a lot of money for Microsoft, every one of those sales. So yeah, it's probably hurting a little bit that Apple is having more sales, and maybe the sales of Windows computers are going down, hurting a little bit for Microsoft. I mean, I don't have any comments on the computer companies themselves, but for Microsoft, I don't think that this is that big of a deal. And again, in summary, because they probably don't make that much on all the Windows sales, but they make a lot of money on the Office sales, and I'll bet you the vast majority of the Macs out there have Microsoft Office on them. And if they don't, they probably wouldn't have had Microsoft Office on them if they were a Windows-based computer either. So that's my theory, that Microsoft is not actually being hurt that much by Apple. They're still making a lot of money, and as we've seen too, their Mac business unit has announced absolutely record sales and revenue numbers from their Mac sales of Microsoft Office. So clearly Microsoft is benefiting just as much or nearly as much as Apple from Apple's increased sales. So if you have a differing point of view, I'd love to hear it. If you've thought this or have some other aspect of it to think about, maybe I'm making this overly simplistic or missing something really obvious, certainly love to hear from you. But that's what I have for tonight. So thanks for watching, and see you soon.